listening live from New York. The CC Radio Network is proud to bring you tonight's show, The Rebellious Rev and the Doc, where we talk about religion like you've never heard before. There's no evangelists here, just talk about religion with a twist. So let's get started and have some fun. Welcome our hosts for tonight, The Rebellious Rev and the Doc.
There is no heaven.
Chad.
There is no hell. There is only this world and its dark reflection. And we do not know in which of the two worlds we are.
I thought there was only one world.
No, there's the political world and there's the religious world, and we give them both to the people today.
Okay. Live from Oceanside, New York. It is the Rebellious Rev and the Doc. I'm the Rebellious Rev.
And I'm the other guy.
Hello, other guy.
All right.
What do you think? Are we going to have a good show tonight?
Well, like I said, there are two worlds. We're going to talk about the first world being the political fray, and believe me, you and I just watched it on TV unfolding in San Diego. And then at about 10:15, we hopefully will be joined by Chad, and we will be discussing SOS, Save Our Soul.
With a little bit of religion. And anything else that comes up in between, as at times it does. So I'm just checking everything. Our phone number is 646-595-3275. That's important because we want to hear from you. We like hearing from you. We have to hear from you.
We must hear from you. We're here for you.
Otherwise, you're just going to hear the same boring stuff coming out of our mouths. Wouldn't you hear yourself talk than us?
Yeah, you're going to hear the Rev pick on me, and I'm going to tell him how ignorant he is, and, then we're going to try to save each other's soul. But, in all seriousness, Trump was giving a speech in San Diego, and they were really rocking and rolling outside the arena. There were anti-Trump ralliers and pro-Trump ralliers, and the police were really having a tough time keeping them separated. Not only that, but there were at least 2 or 3 fights that broke out. Nothing terrible. I mean, things being thrown, punches, whatever. But, look at it like this. If you are straddling a fence right now, ladies and gentlemen, you're unsure between Hillary, Bernie, or Trump.
Oh, it's really Bernie.
Hillary, when she talks, she screams. There's just no getting around it. Bernie always screamed. That's, he's an old man. Bernie always screamed. Don't get me wrong. I like Bernie. And Trump is an instigator. Okay?
What do you mean?
So the bottom line is, who was there for the ordinary person to vote for? Trump, who is, totally enamored with himself. Okay? Hillary, who's trying to make a point and tell us that she's something that she might not be, which is
a liar.
Totally honest. Okay? Now, I wouldn't say an outright liar, but totally honest. She's been giving the same excuse for months now, that she didn't do anything that other secretaries of state didn't do. Yet we find out this week that she was told by her aides that it maybe wasn't the best thing to do when she was Secretary of State. Okay, that she should have just gone with the...
Oh, she was told by who was that? The Attorney General? Not the Attorney General. Who told?
No. She was told by her aides that it wasn't, her aides now,
yeah,
that it wasn't maybe the smartest thing to do, that she should have gone with, a State Department email server, and that was it. Sort of like when uh, a senator or a vice president, a sitting vice president, has personal holdings like Cheney did in Halliburton. Technically, and I stress technically, he had to turn it over to a representative.
Yeah, but
okay?
who was it that just put out a report about her?
The State Department itself, the current State Department, said that she was remiss in what she did. She should have listened to her staffers, and she should have used the government server, and that was it.
And she was wrong. They said she was wrong. They were
I
pretty.
thought I just said that.
I know,
Felix.
but you just said, but that's not it. They were very hard on her.
Well, I don't know how hard they were there, but they did say, hey, look, it doesn't make a difference the degree of how hard they were. They told her she was wrong.
Yeah. Well, it's
and she's trying to say, well, I didn't do anything anyone else did. And then she's trying to say, which might be true, that when she does something, it gets magnified much more than anyone else.
Well,
that's a possibility. Don't forget, in a way she's carrying, and it's wrong, but she's carrying her husband's baggage because, Trump is not going to leave that alone. He is going to bring it up every chance he can get.
Well, she was talking about...
And he's going to bring up Rosewater, going back to the Arkansas days, and Vince Foster, his suicide. So, there's a lot of stuff that is going to surface that really has no business being surfaced now, because right now it should be... They should be discussing politics.
Well, the thing is, the Hillary team is bringing out a lot of old stuff about Donald, and Donald is fighting back with old stuff that they're bringing up about her. So
yeah, but I think Hillary's
same old politics.
Look, Hillary's only doing this because he started it. The bottom line is, when you try to get down and dirty with Donald, you will lose. Marco Rubio, Jeb Bush just didn't have the energy. Lion Ted Cruz, Carly Fiorina with her ugly face. Okay, these are all things that he said. And what happened is... No,
he never said she was ugly.
Well, he didn't say... Well...
But he sure implied it.
Well, you read between the lines. But the bottom line is, then people started to respond to what he was saying, and he loves that, because you do something like that and you are not going to win. You are definitely going to lose.
Well,
And he'll never let you forget it. We're talking about running for the presidency of the United States, not who's going to be prom king and prom queen.
And they were talking about Colonel Powell. Was it?
Colin Powell.
Colin Powell. Now, what year was that in?
Oh, Colin Powell was in the first administration under George W. Bush. So that was 2001, 2002. And into 2003, because shortly after we got involved with Iraq, he resigned because, well, at the time he didn't say anything, but later on he let it be known that, he was basically hoodwinked by Cheney and by Bush, and he fell for the whole story of weapons of mass destruction when there aren't any, that he was being lied to, and then in turn what he did, he went to the UN... and addressed a joint session of the United Nations saying that Iraq has weapons of mass destruction, and that's why we're doing this. And he came out with egg on his face.
Anyway, but they accused him. She's using him as an example of a Secretary of State doing that.
Well, from all indications, he did not have that many emails on a personal server.
He didn't have a personal server.
Oh, there's your answer.
When he was outside of the country and he had no other way of doing it, he would send mail through Gmail and AOL as we used to do 20 years ago. Now it doesn't get done anymore.
No, we send up smoke signals like the coffee club used to do. Remember?
There's no such thing as personal.
Personal emails we would send up through smoke signals in different colors. The only problem is
that's what he was doing
But the only problem is we were doing that at night. No one could see.
Yeah, I know. That's because it was secretive.
Well, very secretive. You're right about that.
That was a security.
Yes, it was.
But my point being is, he didn't have the luxury of the security that we have now.
Very
then.
true. You're talking about 24 years ago.
Apples and oranges.
You're talking about 24 years ago. 24 years ago, people were still using dial-up. Okay, I mean, how many times were you using dial-up and you found and you were closed out of getting online because the circuits were busy?
Yeah,
Remember those days?
Yeah, so those were different days. There was no security. There was no stuff like Hillary was doing, and they're saying that they know that her there was attempts at her what do you call it? To hack her server.
I will tell you one thing. If she doesn't prevail in this election, I think she's going to go, as Dylan Thomas said, go quietly into this good night. I think she will fade away like I think Westmoreland said. Yeah. Old soldiers don't die, they just fade away. I think Hillary is just going to fade away and be a doting grandmother.
The more I hear about, and then after they came out with that report saying that she did this thing, she denied him anyway.
Well, look, like I said, she has not been totally forthcoming and truthful. I wouldn't call her a liar the way Donald does, okay? She has, look, my mother and father always taught me that the two easiest words to say in the English language are "I'm sorry." Okay? You should think before you speak and before you act. What she did was totally wrong. She keeps saying that she said she's sorry, but the fact remains that she did what she did. Okay? And now what has to happen is let the government... Let it run its course. Let the government do whatever it is they have to do. And I'm not talking about the FBI and bringing her up on charges because we all know what that's worth. I mean, George W. Bush, what's his face, Cove, and Cheney were asked to face Senate committees or answer questions. And they both didn't bother to comply.
And neither did she.
You're not following me.
You want to say the same thing? What happened?
You're not following me.
Yeah, you're not following me. She was.
No, I'm following you. What's the order in which it happened? Karl Rove and Dick Cheney did not answer questions before the committee. They came first. She came before the committee, answered questions. They're not happy with her answers. Those are her answers. But
you're talking about Benghazi. No, I'm talking about when they were investigating her emails.
Well, even if they investigate her emails, the bottom line
that was her boss. The State Department asked her to take an interview. Her and all of her employees refused to talk to the State Department. Do you know that?
Yes.
Okay.
And you're not hearing me, are you?
No.
Karl Rove and Dick Cheney did the exact same thing when George W. Bush was in office. They ignored a subpoena to appear before the committee. So, what are they doing? What is Hillary and her, advisors doing that the former vice president and Bush's brain didn't do?
Does that make it right?
Why is everybody picking on her and nobody
picked on anybody?
Okay.
Listen, when they had the other day...
I didn't say it was right, but the thing is, Karl Rove and Dick Cheney never appeared...
I'm not running for president.
Doesn't make a difference. Dick Cheney was the sitting vice president at the time.
No, he was sitting king at the time.
Well, that's not funny. He was the sitting vice president. And I have news for you. They're still not sure whether they're not going to bring charges against George W. Bush for misleading the American people in 2003 and sending us to war against Iraq.
Who's going to bring him up to charges?
I'm sure there are political groups and law firms that are working on it. Do they have any right to stand on? It's been talked about in the news, just nothing's been done yet. There's no time frame or time limit. But the bottom line is, will they do that? No, probably not.
I've never heard of anything about that at all, I'll be honest with you. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. I've never heard of it.